Looks good. It's sincere on your end. Is that all right?
Yep, gotcha.
Oh, perfect. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you again, Steve, for letting us have some time this morning to talk to you guys about managed security services, and particularly about virtual managed security services. Just got a few slides, and kind of the idea is to kind of give you guys, as Steve said, an introduction to this, and those that would like to have some more deep dive into this, Steve and I will be happy to spend some more time with you, and we can schedule some follow-up meetings. First, I'll just kind of focus a little bit on some of the virtualized security concerns. This is a big focus area for us right now. The physical and the virtual world have many of the same problems. Just because you move it in the virtual environment doesn't mean you don't need a firewall anymore. Firewalls are still needed. It's just got to protect what comes in and goes out. That hasn't gone away. Another real issue is the fact that you probably need some kind of deep packet inspection, something like what an IDS or IPS would provide that goes beyond just what the firewall does. And the other issue is that the attacks are growing in complexity. When we segregated systems in the past in the old physical environment only, someone had to actually go in and take out each of those systems to actually basically take you down. Well, the nice features of virtualization is that building some clusters and building some nice environments, you can build fully redundant systems, have them all being shared by different resources and applications. Unfortunately, though, it's kind of like being able to shoot the heart. It's just going to take one target and they can just about take anything out. And unfortunately, the attack types are growing in complexity, and we are seeing a lot of new vector attacks that are targeting just systems that are running in a virtual environment. Not easy to determine, obviously, just from the outside, but there's some pretty smart folks out there. Other problem, too, is that virtualization amplifies some of the problems that it itself, gives you the benefit from. A lot of simplicity was put into the development, particularly through VMware and even through Zen now, to make it easy to configure. But unfortunately, it does bring a factor of human error in, because we just don't yet have people with broad experience. And so it's easy to set one of these things up, and it's also very easy to configure it incorrectly. And you could create a complete mess. And by the way, as I just said, there are people out there trying to find you, and they want to know if you're a virtual environment and you haven't been configured correctly. Another one is that a lot of the implementations of applications have been simplistically defined, so it's easy. I can put Exchange up on this same server along with a Linux application. The problem, though, is that you could open yourself up for some huge exposures, because, again, you're looking at this as one environment. In the past, you used to be able to say, like, to your firewall, this IP address just goes to this with these services. Well, it's very easy to suddenly just think of this as one giant virtual clustering opening to every port, and you don't want to do that. So you've got to be really careful that as you implement these things, you don't just kind of break yourself open to the whole world. We've seen a tremendous increase in the use of virtual desktops. Again, it does increase the exposure, because in the past, say you had 100 desktops, it was pretty easy to say, okay, well, we can isolate that one desktop out of the network in the event that it became infected, and this is obviously post-mortem kind of events. Now, unfortunately, you've got 99 other virtual desktops you got to be concerned about. They were very closely coupled to that other one. And what we're seeing is increased compliance concerns. We're very active working right now with PCI Council. I know that there's 2 working groups right now moving forward as they begin to advance PCI 1.4, and in their future, maybe 2.0, they're going to be thinking about maybe in a couple of years. And virtualization and cloud computing are a complete concern for them. They had very good documentations and directions on how to build the physical world out, and this virtual thing has really given them a hard time and a lot of heartburn. So there's a tremendous movement in this direction. I held a conference recently for a series of FDIC auditors, same concerns. They're saying they've got to go back to their banks now, and they hope to go back into their own organization and be able to drive back some compliance requirements, because, again, it just changes the entire whole spectrum of how this thing works, and because it can amplify weaknesses really broadly, they got to make sure that they get some direction here. One of the nice things about StillSecure's managed service offering is that we offer a large suite of solutions, and we actually have 2 virtual offerings today. Our key one that meets probably about 98% of our virtual customer base is what we call virtual VNSA, virtual network security appliance. It basically is everything that our physical system has, The difference is, of course, that you provide your own hardware, and you provide it today into a VMware ESX environment. The nice thing, though, is we do deliver to you an ISO image that has everything on it. So let's say you just subscribe to my IDPS service, and you put it into a virtual environment. At some point, if you'd like one of the other services, it's already basically on that image and probably has been somewhat installed. We do a compact install of these other applications. And it's going to be really easy to either turn this up in the same VM instance we're in, or we can actually create other ones. So great flexibility. And you've got every application available to you. Obviously, you just pay for the ones you subscribe to, but they're all there ready to go when you need them. And trust me, as you begin to expand and grow this virtual environment, you're going to find you're going to need some other things. Like, for example, we're finding many of our clients start out with IDPS. Eventually, they also implement firewall, and now they're also implementing our log management service. And so the nice thing is it's already there. Our engineers can work with you guys to help get your configuration set up right. But basically, every service that we offer in our physical is available in the VNSA. Now, VSS is a very specialized, almost unique offering. It's really designed for cloud-based providers, or another new term for me is the multi-tenant environment, multi-tenant hosted environment where we're in a virtual environment, though. It does only offer firewall and IDPS, but again, it's a very specialized application, particularly for cloud providers. So if you're an application company and you're building a cloud-based application, this is a perfect solution for you to look at. It does only offer firewall and IDPS, but actually it does integrally relate into the hypervisor. So it's one of the first of its kind. We actually do have a hook into it through some licensing that we have with VMware. And basically it's the first application of its kind to actually be able to not only monitor, much like VNSA does, the external physical NICs and the virtual network configurations you'll put inside, but also control the flow between the hypervisor. That's unique because that's really the concern that's coming up between the compliance groups, and particularly like with the FDIC and the PCI is, okay, so all of you are sharing this big cloud environment for your applications. How do we know the applications aren't corrupting each other and passing some information between them? And the only way to do that is to the hypervisor. And in a minute I'll show you later, or I should say a little more detail on that one, just to give you a flavor for it. If nothing else, if you go out and get a cloud service, maybe you better start asking your cloud providers some of these same questions that I'll illustrate the benefit of, and that is to say, are you guys doing this? Because this is really important. If they're not, they're just depending on a physical firewall out in front of the devices, they're missing some areas.